Beyond the Law. This was first released back in 2019 and was directed by James Cullen Brezic. Basically, this is a fairly typical low-budget action flick about an ex-cop seeking revenge for the murder of his son. Johnny Messner stars as the ex-cop, and to say that his character leans heavily on Clint Eastwood's legendary character Dirty Harry would be an understatement. But that's not a bad thing. I'm a fan of Dirty Harry, and Messner delivers a solid performance, you know. He has some real grit to his voice, really sounds and looks like the rough, tough, straight out of the Wild West man's man that he is supposed to be playing, so it's all good. And he's not the only decent level star in this film. Steven Seagal and DMX are also in it, and this is the first time that Seagal and DMX have been in the same film since Exit Wounds. Now, if you've not seen Exit Wounds, it is a solid action flick, and best of all, it is from a period when Steven Seagal actually made decent action movies, so if you've not seen it, I do recommend it, and highly recommend it at that. Anyhow, in truth, they don't get much screen time together, which is a bit of a shame, as I can't help but feel that they could have had some fun with it, but it is what it is, and it's fun to see them share the same billing, so not a big deal. In terms of the critical response to this film, it has 4 out of 10 on IMDb and 22% on Rotten Tomatoes, which in truth are typical scores for low-budget action films. So, based on those ratings, this should be an acceptable low-budget action flick. The question is it? Well, for the first 45 to 50 minutes of the film, you would probably say that the Rotten Tomatoes ones was definitely a little bit harsh, because despite this film's many failings, and there are many which I will get to shortly, despite this, for the first 45 to 50 minutes, this seems a pretty decent low-budget action flick. But after that point, I'm afraid everything just collapses. Literally. From then on, it's like watching paint dry, simply because they just ruin it with decisions that just make no sense and totally drag you out of the story. And literally, I cannot understand why they have made these ridiculous decisions, but then at the same time, part of me can. This is a film in which Steven Seagal stars, and I don't know what it is about films these days with Steven Seagal in it, but they just seem to be notorious for making totally illogical decisions. And the worst kind of illogical decisions at that, the ones that make you think that the director and writers and everyone involved in the making of the film just don't care that much about the story. And if the people making the film act like they don't care about the story, then why the hell should we? It really does annoy me, I have to say, when films that could be decent are not decent simply because of illogical decisions. And I'm going to give you an example of the kind of illogical decisions that I'm talking about here. And this is a spoiler alert, but not really a spoiler alert. So, warning, spoiler alert. Okay, if you're still with me, the good guy, so Johnny Messner's character, gets into a gunfight and yet seems to forget that there are 4 bad guys, and so ends up getting shot as a result. I mean, think about that. This is supposed to be a guy that is really good at killing. He does whatever it takes to get the job done, and in the past has always got the job done. They literally drill that fact into us, and yet here he is getting himself shot because he has forgotten there are 4 bad guys. So just to put this into perspective, the good guy gets shot because basically he forgets that there are 4 bad guys. Yes, exactly, ridiculous. Now, moving on, Johnny Messner's character is supposed to be the good guy, except he's not really the good guy. To explain, Steven Seagal plays the gangster whose son has killed Johnny Messner's character's son, so of course, because this is Steven Seagal, the gangster he is playing has to be the good bad guy gangster, while Johnny Messner's ex-cop, who even though he is the one who is supposed to be following the righteous path of bringing justice, has to be the bad guy, good guy, even though he, for the narrative sense, is supposed to be the good guy. So just to be clear here, in this film, the ex-cop who is supposed to be the good guy is morally the bad guy, while the gangster who is supposed to be the bad guy is morally the good guy, but only sort of in both cases. And what makes it even worse, Steven Seagal has his own secondary narrative where people are trying to overthrow him and he must overcome this, which further paints him as the hero of the story, but he is not. And literally, I could go on and on about all these problems. It's just ridiculous. I mean, then there is the ending of this film. I mean, don't even get me started on the ending of the film. Just don't get me started. But you know what? I don't want to have a rant about Steven Seagal, but this really is a typical post-90s Steven Seagal type scenario where even when he is the bad guy, he can't really be the bad guy. Not because he doesn't have the ability to be, but because for some reason he just doesn't want to be. And if he doesn't want to be, I don't understand why he keeps playing the bad guy. Anyhow, with all that said, I will say this. If you're looking for a decent film, this is not the film to watch. However, if you like films that are so rubbish that you can literally spend the whole film tearing it apart, then this film is brilliant for you to watch because there is so much material in it, it is crazy. And I mean absolutely crazy. That's all from me. Thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe to my channel.